View this lecture after reading Chapter 4 Editing and Understanding Movies. Review the grammar sheet in the module on D2L to aid in the note-taking process. Watch the videos in the Editing 2 supplemental playlist to enhance the lecture. Last week, Editing 1, we covered the evolution of editing as a language in film, the styles of classical cutting and continuity editing, and the techniques and rules employed to keep continuity. Editing 2 covers Russian montage editing, film as propaganda, rule-breaking editing, and discontinuity and MTV editing. The Russians, montage editing. Moscow Film School, 1919. Film used as propaganda, editing style in direct opposition to Hollywood's classical cutting. The Soviets believed that the power was in the juxtaposition. The cuts call attention to themselves. The meaning was made in the edit. Lev Kuleshov, 1920s, founder of the world's first film school, experimented with juxtaposition, conducted the now famous Kuleshov experiment. The Kuleshov experiment proposed the meaning was made through the edit, shots cut together to create ideas not contained in either shot on its own. This becomes the foundation for Soviet montage editing. The theory of montage editing evolves during the silent era. The theory of montage editing is formalistic. The theory of montage editing takes unrelated images, joins them to create a third and higher meaning. Recreating the Kuleshov experiment. Shot A stays the same. The shot that follows changes the response to shot A. Shot A, a shot of a man with a neutral expression on his face. Joined with shot B, a picture of distraught people at a funeral. Shot A plus shot B equals sad. Return to shot A, image of a man with a neutral expression on his face. Joined with shot C, a picture of a table full of food. Shot A plus shot C equals hungry. Once again, shot A, an image of a man with a neutral expression on his face. Joined with shot D, a picture of a beautiful woman. Shot A plus shot D equals love. Sergey Eisenstein, a contemporary of Kuleshov's, a film director and film theorist, is a pioneer of montage-style editing. Eisenstein's films Strike and The Battleship Potemkin are his most well-known. Shots collide to make meaning, often fragmenting time and space. Montage calls attention to itself, unlike continuity editing. It's about the contrast and conflict of images. The first flashback sequence in Tatsi uses montage-style editing. Shot A, Tatsi, is joined with a shot of a little boy to create the idea of little Tatsi. This sequence also uses discontinuity in MTV editing, discussed later in the lecture. It does not use continuity editing. Film as propaganda. The Soviets used film as propaganda in the 1920s. The Nazi propaganda documentary Triumph of the Will, directed by Leni Riefenstahl, is a powerful example of film as propaganda. Uses editing to make Hitler look like a god. The U.S. government employs Hollywood directors. Director Frank Capra made Why We Fight to help rally the support for entering World War II. Rule breakers. The French New Wave. French film critics turned directors in the late 1950s and 60s. Notable directors: Jean-Luc Godard, François Truffaut, and Agnès Varda. Godard's first feature film, Breathless, is notable for its purposeful use of jump cuts and violating the rules of continuity editing. Hollywood takes notice of this rule-breaking editing style. Discontinuity editing. The influence of the French New Wave films like Breathless are seen in American films in the late 1960s and beyond. D.D. Allen, editor of Bonnie and Clyde, pioneer of editing in Hollywood, broke the rules of classical cutting and continuity editing. American New Wave, 1967 and beyond. Filmmakers reject the established rules and conventions of classical cutting. The pace of films increase, as does the use of montage and discontinuity editing. Films that mark a turning point in Hollywood. Easy Rider, Bonnie and Clyde, The Graduate. Post-classical editing, or MTV editing. The appearance of MTV in 1981 marks a turning point in the pace and tempo of media. Digital editing technology enables fast cutting. The rise of the blockbuster in Hollywood drives this new pace of editing forward. Faster and faster, MTV-style editing. Quick cuts, shots lasting a split second, disjointed action, breaks the rules of continuity. The 180-degree and 30-degree rules are often ignored. Examples of post-classical or MTV editing: The Bourne Identity, The Hurt Locker, Black Hawk Down, Top Gun. Films today still use tried and true editing techniques and the rules of continuity editing. However, narrative pace is faster and cuts come quicker than they did in the 1940s and 1950s. Editing was born over 100 years ago. Editing is such an important part of a film's narrative today. Editing continues to evolve with film technology. Last week's film, Totsi, also applies to editing too. So we have the same two response questions to choose from. How is editing used to inform the viewer about Totsi's childhood? Or how is continuity editing used in Totsi? Be specific and use editing grammar to support your claim. Films featured in this lecture. Students are encouraged to explore these films. View the PDF version of this lecture on D2L to take a closer look. Until next time, have a productive week.